kind of loud around here. I'm hoping that the sound pollution doesn't ruin us. First things first, I will say, don't let the drip fool you. I'm peasant stock. I was going to make a larger point about that, but I'm not sure I have time. We're pressed today. I got to get to work, but I also want to do this. So first and foremost, I'll say that today we're talking about how to write a book / how to start a commonplace book. They're very similar, and we're using Leonardo's biography by Walter Isaacson to assert the point. And I'm going to be walking on this trail wearing my nicest drip. So I want to say thank you first and foremost to a couple of people who have left comments on my videos. I'll say first that if you leave a comment, I will type you paragraphs, because I like talking about reading and writing and storytelling, literature, and I miss teaching. I've been out of grad school for like 6 months, and I don't get to talk about this stuff regularly, so this is kind of my outlet. So I want to thank Alexander. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry again, I am American peasant stock. Amaris Joseph, the ever loyal Elon Mush, Brandon's Bookshelf, and those are the comments that I've gotten since I posted my video on Sunday. This might be the last one of these videos I do. Actually, no, I'll probably do one more outside. I'm getting new equipment, audio equipment, slowly upgrading. But anyways, we have to get into it. So let's talk about last week. Where were we last week? Last week we left off talking about how much time goes into, how to write a book / how to start a commonplace book. And the point I made, what was in Walter Isaacson's chapter on Leonardo's notebooks, which I suggest you pick up, I recommend you pick up. It's a very useful biography. All of Isaacson's biographies are great. 7,200 pages of Leonardo's giant commonplace book, which the pages were like 16 by 24 that he was writing on, not our, 8.5 by 11, whatever. You get the point. So his giant commonplace book pages, 7,200 is what we have today after 500 years. And Isaacson estimates that that's a quarter of everything Leonardo ever wrote. So when I say that we left off talking about how much time goes into, how to write a book or how to start a commonplace book, what I'm saying is that the point is to be patient. You're trying to write a book, you're trying to start a commonplace book, maybe you just want to become a better writer. The point is that it takes time. Writing does not happen quickly. I've been writing 2 hours a day since I started undergrad, which was like 6 or 7 years ago now. It's a very slow process, but the effects compound. So that's all I'll say. We have to move on because I don't have a ton of time. Got to get to work. Got to do my little wage slavey thing. So today, how to write a book like Leonardo. How to write a book like Leonardo, and how to start a commonplace book. How to start a commonplace book. These are ideas I've talked at great lengths about in the past in this series, Education Without Walls. As you can see, there is not a single wall around. So not a wall in sight. I'm going to read this paragraph, today's paragraph that we're talking about. So this is again in Walter Isaacson's chapter on Leonardo's notebooks in the biography, which I recommend you pick up. Don't copyright claim me, please. So here we go. As usual with Leonardo, however, okay, take 2. As usual with Leonardo, however, there is an element of mystery involved, and this follows a line saying, Leonardo's notebooks are nothing less than an astonishing windfall that provides the documentary record of applied creativity. New paragraph. As usual with Leonardo, however, there is an element of mystery involved. He rarely put dates on his pages, and much of their order has been lost. After his death, many of the volumes were disassembled, and the interesting pages were sold or reorganized into new codices by various collectors, most notably the sculptor Pompeo Leone, who was born in 1533. Okay, so that's the paragraph we're talking today. Now, what does this teach us about how to write a book, about how to start a commonplace book? My hands are starting to get cold. It is cold here. I'm in Wisconsin. It's like below 30. it's cold. Anyways, moving on. So the first sentence, what do we have? As usual with Leonardo, however, there is an element of mystery involved. So when Leonardo wrote in his Commonplace book, he was making art. And that's what I think you should aim for when you're trying to write a book or start a commonplace book or start a writing habit. And that's obvious. Maybe obvious isn't the right word, but my point is simply that there's an element of mystery to Leonardo's work because he was creating art. And I think that's important. And I'll move on to the next sentence and talk more specifically about the dates or the lack thereof and the implications of that, at least in my mind as somebody who's studied literature throughout undergrad and graduate school. But the point I want to make here is that I think the Leonardo was a mysterious guy, and I think much of that mystery grows out of the fact that he was an artist, that everything he did, at least what we have left, was striving towards some creative end. And I think that lends itself to the unknown, to being beyond, to being something other than graspable. I'm kind of stumbling for words right now, but my point is there is, like Isaacson said, there's a mystery involved with the pages that remain. We don't know dates, and I'll read the second sentence now. He rarely put dates on his pages, and much of their order has been lost. Okay, so there is a lack of organization to these pages beyond their chronological order. Okay, so what does that mean in my mind? And how can it help you write a book, start a commonplace book, develop a writing habit, etc.? I think it can because in my mind, if Leonardo wasn't putting dates next to these works, it's because, we can imagine his journal, this giant book that he would sit down to and open at the beginning or the ends of his days. And I think what Leonardo's writing habit looked like was he was combing through these pages that he wrote every day. Obviously, he couldn't, comb through the 30,000 pages that Isaacson estimates were initially there. But my point is that I expect that he was constantly combing through these pages so that, any dates at all would have been almost not worth mentioning because of how often he was returning to different pages and how regularly he was jumping around. And I think that, I hope, gives you some idea of what the value of keeping a commonplace book like Leonardo's can be for us. It's a matter of creating a work of literature that directly pertains to your life. It's like this growing organism that you're developing. It's like I like thinking about it as a plant that we're trying to nurture, give sunlight, water, so that it grows. Because in an interesting way, I think our commonplace book, and really any book that we are producing, I think it echoes our lives, echoes our life in ways that can be beneficial. And to Leonardo, I think Leonardo is the perfect example of this. He was an artist, engineer, scientist, mathematician, a polymath. And his commonplace book allowed him a space to see how his different passions overlapped. And that's really the power of writing, giving form to abstract ideas, weaving them together with the precision of language. So let's see. He was creating something for his own life, and I think that's how you write a book. You create something that echoes your life in ways that are of value for you, and by extension, if they're valuable for you, the idea is that they might be valuable for another person. How are we doing on time? Let's check this out. My dogs aren't with me right now, I'll say, as I check the time. Okay, 9 minutes in, good. Because off the leash and I got my reported. So That's what I get for being American peasant stock, owning no land, taking my dogs off the leash at my apartment complex. Anyways, let's keep going. Let's wrap this up. Okay. So the last sentence, and I won't read it because it's longer, but the idea is that the interesting pages were sold or reorganized after Leonardo's death. Okay, so what does this mean? Again, Leonardo was producing a work of art. And I think that the point of this entire video, how to write a book, how to start a commonplace book, I'll say this: whether you're trying to learn how to write a book or how to start a commonplace book, understand the scope that creating great and or valuable art requires. It takes time, and it takes so much time that what's required almost it devalues the documentation of specific dates, of specific times. It's an idea, like great art is, whether it's a commonplace book or a YouTube video or a novel or a movie. I'm like kind of repeating myself, I guess, with those examples. But my point is that great art requires the sacrifice of time. And that's what Leonardo's commonplace books teach us. So I hope that in your own life, you take that to the page with you the next time you sit down. Understand that, you're not going to produce a great work of art in one sitting. And that is an intimidating idea, but it's also valuable because I think it frees you in a way. For me, it helps me get through bouts of writer's block, because if I sit down and the words just aren't coming, and I've been sitting in the chair for 2 hours and all I have to show for it at the end are 3 sentences, that is a big bummer, without a doubt. But the idea that I'm going to find myself in the chair tomorrow and do the same thing helps take the pressure off the present. And I think that that's kind of what we can take away from the mystery of Leonardo's commonplace books, the distinct lack of dates. He was creating a great work of art, great works of art. And Leonardo's one of the greatest thinkers in human history. And so I think it stands to reason that, what we can learn from him is that, don't necessarily organize your ideas, when you're keeping a commonplace book chronologically. Allow some associative connection. Allow the connective tissue to be something associative. I'll say that, and I'll repeat the point one last time and then close this puppy out. Whether you're trying to learn how to write a book or how to start a commonplace book, understand the scope that creating great art requires. It's not going to happen overnight, and that's okay. But just keep at it, and before long, your efforts will compound. And you can't exactly say how they compound, but I believe in the power of writing, in the power of reading, and I hope that, I can help you believe in them too. So thanks for watching. We recently had another uptick in traffic. I appreciate that so much. And I hope you'll say hi in the comment section down below. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So thanks for watching. And thanks for watching.